Welcome back to the show. Joining me today is my husband, Danny. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
This is your second time on the show. Episode 32 was all about the most important partnership in your business. So if you have a business with your spouse, or even if you have a spouse and you're in business, you should definitely check it out because we shared some really good insight on what it is. He is not officially a partner in my business, but you do give a lot of input.
Yeah, I know enough to be dangerous, I guess.
Yes. I mean, I've dragged him to pretty much all the events that I've been to, because I thought it was super important for him to understand what I was doing. So he would have a better idea of when I would say, I want to invest in this, or I want to buy this, or if I have questions about funnels or whatever, he really has an understanding.
Yeah, I think I get your business, better than I thought I was going to.
Yeah. And what I really admire about you is that you go sometimes pouting before we go. Like he's like, oh, am I going to like this? I don't know. Right. But then he goes with his notepad and his pen, and then you take it and you implement it in your job. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think is incredible. So if you do have a spouse that's in this position, they very well might get way more out of it than they think they would.
Yeah, absolutely. I there's a lot of things that I took with me to work, and people were like, "Oh, you just came back from one of those things with your wife," but I implemented a lot of it, and it actually helped me out, especially on the organizational side of things. But people are people, and business is business, and if you're managing people and things, then it translates.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So one of the things I did want to share before we move on to our beautiful children is one of the things how I really knew that he got what funnels was is that we were in the drive-thru at McDonald's one day getting a coffee or something, and they're like, would you like an apple pie with that? And he turned to me, he's like, that's an upsell. I'm like, yes, yes, it is an upsell. So I could tell he was paying attention, but it really is cool. So I had this great idea to do this show because our twins are now 23 and they have literally left the nest. Like they went away to college, right? But they both got crazy cool jobs and are now in different states. My son is in Charlotte working for ESPN, and my daughter recently moved to Chicago and she's working for a PR agency where she does influencer marketing. So when I say crazy cool jobs, they are crazy cool. However, above all else, they are both amazing human beings. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. The best ones that I know. And even, as much as I've lived on this earth and have experienced things, I still go to like, what would my kids do in this scenario? Because they're way better humans than I am. I'm not knocking myself, but they're solid kids, and I learn from them all the time. Yeah.
Let me tell you, there have been times that I say to Danny, whose kids are these? Because I remember one time we were like, hey, you guys want to miss school because we're going to go here? And they were like, no, we can't miss school. Da, da, da. And then we both looked at each other like, because we didn't want to like be the bad influence. We were like, man, if our parents said that to us, we would have been like, we're out of here. Like we're ditching school.
I was the kid heating up the thermometer so I could show a fever. So I wouldn't have to go in and take a test. Hey, I'm creative, but I was trying to get out of it.
So yeah, they're pretty cool. So anyway, when people compliment our kids, I used to say, oh, we're just lucky. We're lucky. And then Danny said to me one day, like, we aren't lucky. We're great parents. Like this didn't happen by accident. Like we were doing things on purpose, and our kids have turned out this way on purpose. So it's funny because I was talking with a friend that was having some issues with her daughter, and she's like, I'm not sure, like she really wanted like to come to me since her daughter's younger, my kids are older. And she's like, but I don't really know if you can relate to this because it seems like it's Mayberry over at your house. And I was like, I'm like, it's funny that you say that because everything is not perfect, right? Because I don't think anybody's life is really perfect.
Yeah.
We're all human and we're all learning and making mistakes and all that good stuff. However, there are things that happen that we just look at certain things in a different way, and it's really helped us. And I wanted to bring this episode to light because whether you have twins, triplets, singles or multiple children, whatever. Like there's so many things that go into parenting, especially when you're working, right? So
Mhm.
that was one of the first lessons, especially for me, that I had to learn as a parent. And in the area that we live, there's a lot of moms that stay at home, right? And that's their job, and stay at home. And I have always worked outside the home. And since they were born, it was like I was always worried that I wasn't going to be the perfect mom, or they were going to get
Mhm.
close to the lady that we had watching the kids when I was at work. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to love her more than they love me, like that whole thing, right? I wasn't going to be the perfect mom, right? Or they were going to resent me in some way, shape, or form because I wasn't there 24/7.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel that way?
No, I really didn't. And, for me, I really didn't have the option. I had to be away for 24 hours because of, my job in the fire service. So I was expecting to be away. It wasn't like I had a choice,
Hmm.
and I figured they were going to get used to it. I also had examples in the fire department that, you know, they had great, well adjusted kids, when I first got hired. So I wasn't that worried about it, but I can completely understand, that perspective of, am I going to be enough? Am I going to be around enough and all that? Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Hmm. And then even like with things, so there were certain things that I did for myself to be included, right? So I would always see, well, what things can I volunteer for at the school, right? Or what can I do that in their lives that would make a difference? So for me, I probably went overboard because it's just my personality.
Mhm.
So I became like PTA president, the room mom, or and then like Girl Scout leader, and then Cub Scout leader, which I
She tricked me, completely
I
tricked me
tricked
into
him
it.
into then him being the because I was like, okay, this is too much for me, but whatever.
Yeah.
And I got it. And then you also have your own business. You've always had
Yeah.
an own business as being a firefighter.
Yeah. I always had a side business. As most firefighters do, we have plenty of spare time, and I like to keep moving. I like to, and the opportunity to make more money. The work ethic that I learned from both my parents. It's just what I do. I still, to this day, I still have two jobs. You know, whether I want it or not. But so I think it's and finding the balance is the tricky part. I
Hmm.
think, in all of that. But we've been able to manage it, figure it out through the years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like and to Danny's point, and even for me when I because I had been looking for something, and for those of you who are new to me, I had been looking for something to be able to spend more time with them, right? Which led me to this business. So shifting from my 9 to 5 into my online business and having my own company to give my flexibility, there was a lot of sacrificing that
Hmm.
I had to make.
Yeah.
And I know you had to make. Do you want to speak to that?
Well, in reference to the sacrifices I had to make for each so that you can move. uh,
No, for the kids.
oh, for the kids. Well, yeah. In my business, I know, and I reached a point. For those who don't know, I had a carpentry business for over 16 years, and I reached a point probably halfway through my career in that business where I said I'm not going to miss anything else. It was a Halloween, and the customer was adamant over and over about me showing up because it had to be done, had to be done. And I'll give you the cliff notes. So I show up. Michelle takes the kids out for Halloween. The husband gets home and is like, "What are you doing here? Don't you have little kids?" And I'm like, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do." And he goes, Why are you here at my house?" "Well, your wife told me that this was an emergency, and there's no emergencies in business, right? We create them, right? We create that
Mhm.
craziness, that hecticness, and sometimes that drives us and makes us better at what we do. But I had to really pull myself back from that and say, you know what? Why am I here? So from that day forward, I said I'm not going to miss anything. But what I did have to do is continue to work. So I sacrificed my sleep in trade-off. I stayed up late hours, work until 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning at times to get jobs done, but I didn't miss any opportunities to be with my kids. And just as Michelle was involved in the kids' school, I did as well. And that was part of like the method to our madness, because we also want to see who they're around, what parents they're hanging around with, so we were kind of watching from up close, and,
Mhm.
instead of letting the school, raise the kids for us, we wanted to be involved and make sure that they're around the right people.
Mhm.
But balancing it was a tricky thing. And I remember going on a camping trip once, and I had to finish the cabinetry so that the delivery guy could pick it up. And he picked it up, and I spent all night working on the cabinets. He picked it up that morning. I packed up the car, and we had already prepared everything for the camping trip. And I met them up there with Anthony, so that we didn't miss out on the trip. I mean, we literally got there probably 30 minutes after them, but I got everything done, and I enjoyed the trip because, I was able to put the business aside and focus on my kid and be present for that camp out. But yeah, it's a tricky balance.
Yeah, and working till 3 or 4 in the morning, like, that's part of time management.
Yeah, I have a problem with that too.
We'll just be honest, because I'm not saying like
this isn't a time management.
Yes, but I'm also not, we don't want to endorse everybody's like going to be working 24/7, because that doesn't have to be the case, right? It all comes to time, your time management and what you do. And like, even for me, when I started to do this, and even when I explored some different job opportunities where I was like an account executive on the road, it was like, okay, now I was home with the kids, because let's just point this out, because this was also something that was really big for me. When the kids had like spring break or Christmas break or winter break, Danny was the one that was able to be with them, right, during the day. And they would call me, oh, we're at the zoo, we're at the movies, we're at this. And here I am working, right? And so part of me was like upset or depressed, like I'm missing out on these times with them, right? Which is what, again, led me to have more of the flexibility. So when it came time for me to work from home, what I did is I just told them, especially once they really started to understand time and all that kind of stuff, I would say, okay, look, mommy's going to be in here working until this time. And then I'm going to take a break and we'll do a puzzle, we'll color, whatever it is. So then that way they can see. And as much as I thought, oh my gosh, are they missing out? And I did go through this period. I don't know if you remember, but I did ask the kids, like, do you feel like I missed out on anything, or do you resent me for anything? I flat out asked them. They weren't going into college at that point, and they were like, no. They actually looked at me like, what are you, crazy? And what actually it did was, by us working and working hard, it, number one, showed them the example of what's possible. Like when you wanted something, especially like in my case, where it was like they knew I wanted to do something different. They saw me working so hard to open up this business or try to figure out really what I wanted to be when I grew up at 40 years old or whatever. I was still kind of like in limbo, and they got to see what's possible. Like Danny says, it was teaching them, and also we were demonstrating what work ethic is, and then also that things don't come easy. Like you want something, and we would make it that we wanted to take vacation. If they wanted to go to Disney or whatever, it was like, okay, what do we need to do that? And we all played a part into that. It wasn't just us bringing in the dollars. It's like, okay, what are they going to do to contribute to this thing? And even to this day, like, I just feel like they appreciate things that they have so much more.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. For sure.
I thought you were going to say something.
Yeah. And honestly, like, when we started talking to them about finances, once they were ready to go on their own, they kind of just like put, what's the saying, your nose to the grindstone, and said, I have to do the following to be able to pay for this, this, and this. So, you always question it, are they going to get it? And then you see them it actually happen. And it's kind of cool. We were trying to be as consistent as we could in parenting and showing them the way. And, I'm sure they've learned lessons from other people aside from us, because life teaches you everything. But yeah, absolutely. It was amazing to see it and how quickly they adapted too. So, we're so afraid that our kids, are not going to, be and do, and they figured out, the same way we all did. Things happen in all of our lives, right? We all have stuff, right? And that stuff shapes who you are, and then it shapes who you're going to be. And we all adapt. We all, as humans, we're very adaptive for the most part. Every once in a while we have our breakdowns here and there, but that's life, right?
Some more than others. I'm speaking for myself. Well, and it leads kind of into the second lesson that we learned, which is really quality over quantity, right? So do you want to share your story?
Yeah. So Michelle and I both kind of decided, I'm gonna take Anthony to baseball, because Michelle she'd rather do 20 other things rather than watch baseball. I mean, she loved watching Anthony play, but as far as practices, when he was, in the baseball programs, there's a lot of moving around and traveling around for it, which is, something that we obviously told him, if you're going to do this, we're going to support you, but you got to be committed. And that's was part of our commitment to him and her as well in ballet and dance, when she was doing that. So we just kind of divided and conquered. And, I said, I'm going to work with Anthony and, batting practice and all that, additional to those practices. But at one point, Michelle pointed out to me, and I wasn't aware, because, sometimes I'm just going through the hecticness of life. And she says, Julia mentioned this to me, and she didn't say like she wasn't crying, she wasn't upset about it, but she just kind of mentioned that dad spends a lot of time with Anthony. And, obviously the light bulb went off in Michelle's head. And thank God we have a good line of communication with each other, where she told me, hey, maybe you should think about doing something with Julia. So then I'm like, well, what can I do that's enjoyable with her? So she loves bagels, she's still to this day, as an adult loves them. So I would drop Anthony off at baseball practice, leave him at the park, take Julia to go get bagels. We'd spend some time together in the morning. And, Julia's like, she likes to spend time with you, and then she likes, to go on her own. Mm-hmm. So it was enough time for her. It let Anthony do his thing. I went, spend quality time with her, then dropped her off at home, and then went back to practice to go pick him up, or sometimes to go watch, the end of his practice and all that. But, it was a conscious effort. And thank God she, had her ears open and was listening to the feedback and the communication that we had, like I mentioned, made that happen. And, those are things that you got to figure out as you're going through it. What does each kid need?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's so easy, like Danny was saying, it was like, it just seemed natural for him to go to the baseball practice, mm-hmm. or me to drop her off at dance, or, it's like do the boy thing, the girl thing, that kind of thing. Because just what you're interested in, honestly, I didn't really want to sit at practice for 2 or 3 hours at a time. So it's just kind of like, it's like a natural thing to do. And then it's like, mm-hmm. well, let's just switch it up, because you have to be aware of what the kids are thinking. So when you said go outside and do batting practice, so that was Danny, we have a batting cage back here, and he would put him back there. So one day Danny was out of town or on duty or something like that. Mm-hmm. So Anthony says, Mom, can you pitch to me? Because he is a catcher. So like, Dad's not here. Can you help me? And in my mind, I'm like, oh my God. I said, listen, my aim is like not on point at all. He's like, but no, you got to throw it to me here, like within the little zone, whatever it's called. And I'm like, listen, I'm going to throw it, and wherever it goes, you got to catch it, because it's like, you're dealing with me. But it was kind of a fun experience that we had never experienced together. So that was also kind of cool for mm-hmm. me to kind of be in his world, understand his world a little bit more. And I really think that he also appreciated that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit. I want to circle back to kind of like letting go, right? Because as they go to college, a lot of the people that I hang out with in this world, they have younger children. So they can't see that far ahead, like when we're talking about even high school or going to college mm-hmm. and things like that. So when it comes to letting go, and really one of the things that you had said to me was, because I can be a little worried. I think I've gotten much better about the worrying. Absolutely. I mean, it's always like, we're always worried about like their safety, if you will. However, one of the things that you said to me was like, listen, we've taught them, right? And we got to trust that they're going to take whatever we taught them with them, mm-hmm. right? Like, you cannot be a helicopter parent. Like, you can still show that you care, be worried. You want them to have these great relationships. You want them to have great friends. And again, their safety. I think I keep bringing up safety because that's the big thing for me, right? So can you talk a little bit about your perspective on that?
Yeah. So for me, with my daughter, I worry about her safety. You know what I mean? My daughter's very similar to me. Like, we're identical.
They're with the real twins in this house.
Yeah. So, but as a parent, you want to protect them from the struggles you may have had, or things that you may have experienced that I know my personality traits, and I'm like, man, I don't want her to be scrambling, and late to everything and the stress of it. And so I started to almost not be a helicopter parent, but almost like get frustrated with, how she was handling it. And it was really her experience. It wasn't supposed to be mine.
Right. You
Um,
were struggling with it because you saw
right.
things that you don't like in yourself, or you
Correct.
wish you could have
Absolutely.
changed in yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it was almost like you weren't even giving her a chance
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
mess up or whatever. It was like you were on her because you knew what the outcome was going to
Correct.
be.
Correct. So I had to really like pull myself back and say, hey, stop doing that. Because every time that interaction would happen, it would affect our relationship negatively, so I started letting things go a little bit,
Mhm.
and like Michelle mentioned earlier, is there reaches a point where you've done everything that you can do,
Mhm.
and you're always going to be there for your kids the rest of your life. It's a lifetime commitment, like they say.
Mhm.
But you do have to let go a little bit. When she moved to Chicago recently, it was very difficult for me. It's a new town, and I don't do well with change personally, but I couldn't really put that on her. So once I got over myself, I kind of embraced the whole idea of a new city, a new experience, and then I was able to wrap my head around the fact that it's going to be okay. Like, she's going to make friends, she's going to find people that are going to give her a level of comfort to be around, and it's all going to be good. And it's not about me and her, it's really about Julia's experience now, or Anthony's experience now, moving forward in life. And we're just there, have to be there to support, if anything does happen. and
Right.
and just changing that perspective helped me out a little bit.
And even picking up on some of the cues, because I've become more aware of that with what I have been doing and just my own personal development, and a lot of times in how I communicate with the kids. Sometimes he'll say, like, why do you always take their side, or you know what I mean? And that is not what I'm doing. Number one, I'm trying to understand where they're coming from, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. And then number
Mhm.
two, how can I say things in a way that they will receive? Because we all know that they have that volume button, and it's
Yeah.
like they turn you way down or possibly even power off, where it's like you're just talking and they're not even hearing a word you say.
Mhm.
So it was very important for me to really understand where they're coming from, or ask more questions without being like that interrogator detective type of thing, but just really coming from a point of, hey, I want to understand you, let's have this communication. And even when we're talking about their safety, or like when we left her in Chicago, I think what I was hearing her say was that, wait, you guys don't trust me, or you don't think that I can do these certain things, or you
Mhm.
don't think I can make these decisions on my own. So now you're treating me as if I was in kindergarten, right?
Right.
So as they start growing up, it's like you're choosing their safety. So how can, I mean, you obviously want them to be safe. So how can you choose your words, or the way you communicate with them, for them to understand, like, hey, we're your parents, we love you, like your safety is the number one concern. Can we just have this conversation? We know you're going to make the right decision, but this is my job as your parent to kind of say this
Yeah.
and let me make feel better, but we do trust you in your decision. Do
Mhm.
you?
And yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because the experience will, and I'll give just a brief story. And Julia had kind of a, not a scare, but kind of a situation when she was walking. I don't know if it was to or from or back from. I think it was back from the subway. Yeah, from work, and she had an interaction with somebody in the street, and she felt uncomfortable, and she handled it. She
Yeah.
found somebody from the construction site that she could trust, that she felt she could trust. It was an older gentleman, and asked her to walk her down, near her apartment, and she handled it.
Hmm.
And she called us right after,
Hmm.
and talked to us about it.
Yeah.
So it was like, I think we were in her head. What would mom and dad do? What would they tell me to do?
Hmm.
So we were there. So as much as you want to try to coddle them and protect them, but we were there.
Hmm.
The decisions that she made were all what we would have done.
Hmm.
So everything worked out great.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And even when you're talking about their friends, like that was something really big for me. And I remember my parents were really, I don't know, they were more on top of this than I am, I guess in a different way,
Hmm.
right? It's like who you hang out with, or what is that saying? Who you
Tell me who you hang out with, I'll tell you
Yes,
who you are.
that one. So when we would go to visit them at college or even in high school, when we would see their friends, we're like, wow, their friends are
Hmm.
amazing. Their friends like would talk to us and say, oh my gosh, your kids are so awesome and this and that, because they are good friends to their friends,
Hmm.
right? So that goes a long way in just showing, like, as a parent, what you're doing and showing what a relationship is, what a good friendship is, and how to be a good friend, how to be a good person. And I
Hmm.
think that just all comes back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, another lesson that we learned are our different parenting styles. We kind
Mhm.
of touched base on that. And really, it's not a bad thing because we are totally opposite.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we hear all the time, like, your kids are so together, they're so nice, they're so successful, right? And with our parenting styles, how would you describe my parenting style?
So Michelle's 8 steps ahead, um, very planned out. Um, and she mentioned earlier, worrisome.
Hmm.
Um, but but the plan helps things happen. Like I always say, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have half the things that I have and do and have done half the things that I've been able to do in my life. And and it's enjoyable because I'm not a planner by nature, but she is. The same way that she worries about stuff, I bring her down when she gets too wrapped up in the worry. And I'm like, it's going to be okay. We always figure it out. So we're a good yin and yang. We're good balance. So I want you to tell me what my
Well,
parenting
I
style
wasn't,
is.
yeah, because I wasn't, what I mean, you're definitely the fun dad, right? I mean, I don't think like I'm the
No,
mean
you're
mom.
fun
I don't
too.
think
Yeah,
either one of us are mean. You're definitely more strict than I am.
yeah, I
I
am.
say yes to everything pretty much. And then when I say no, the kids know, like, okay,
Right.
that must be a no because mom said no. Like, I
Yeah,
was a
and then
parent that they would come to ask when they wanted it to be a
yeah,
yes.
and I say no at first, and then I'm like, yeah, do whatever you want
Yeah.
later, but I got to process what they're asking, and I worry
Yeah.
on the safety side of things. So when I start to say no, it's usually a safety issue or what I
Yeah.
think might be a
Yeah.
safety issue, but
Yeah.
you
So
know,
I think that we're a little bit opposite on that, like strict versus, I would say, more lenient,
hmm,
right? But here's the thing, we're always on the same
yeah,
page, right? We always have the same message. Our message to the kids are consistent,
hmm,
like instilling the same values, right? We definitely encourage open communication, right? So it's like no matter what they say, what they do, it's like they can do no wrong. Like, and I always jokingly tell them, like, hey, if you murder somebody, I will help you hide the body. Like,
I worry about that a little bit.
it's a joke, but I realize I cannot joke like that with young people. But my point is that we got your back no matter
Yeah,
what. Like, when it came to high school and parties and, starting to maybe experiment or drink at a party or something like that, it was always like, look, we don't condone that. If you happen to do it, like, we'll come and get you. Do not get in the car, that kind of thing. Respect
hmm,
for others and definitely themselves.
hmm,
Um,
yeah, that's the biggest thing is respecting themselves.
yeah.
Knowing enough about the situation they're in to say, hey, this isn't good for me, regardless of what a friend is telling you to do, or maybe it's not a friend, maybe it's just somebody they met, and having that influence, just having that strength. And I think we raise pretty strong kids, that strength to say, this isn't okay.
Hmm.
It's not going to turn out good, and I'm going to get myself out of it. So,
Yeah. Can you, I don't know if you remember this. So if you don't, we'll just move
yeah,
on.
go ahead.
But do you remember that time where you drew that map and it was
Yeah,
like a Y?
yeah.
Can you?
So I had a little bit of an interaction with my daughter, and I don't remember the specifics of what she got in trouble for, but I really wanted to get, because I'm a visual learner myself, and my daughter is as well. She's on the visual side of things. My son is more analytical. So I drew a picture of a road, and at that road there's a fork in the road,
Mhm.
and there's good decisions and bad decisions, and there's the positive on the good decision side and the negative on the bad decision side. And I posted it up on her wall, and it was up there for quite a while. I think probably 3 or 4 years. And in those formative years, those where they're trying to manage everything that's getting thrown at them in life. And I think it was impactful for her. But also just kind of
Can
as
you
a,
explain what was on the
oh
map?
yeah, yeah. So on the map is the road that you travel, and then there's, a bad decision on the left, good decision on the right, and with the good decision comes happiness, joy, freedom, and everything else that comes along with the right decision. And with the wrong decision comes negative impact in your life, punishment, um, bad stuff, injury. And so I basically laid it out on a piece of paper that when you're going to come to these crossroads in your life, and you're going to have to make a decision.
Mhm.
But I also let her know, if you make the bad decision, you can still go to the good side too. And you don't have to stay on the bad decision. You can always get yourself out of it.
Mhm.
So I think it was just something that I just kind of came up with on the spur of the moment. And I think it was a good impact for her. I think she took it with her. But I
Yeah.
think also Anthony saw it on the
I
wall
was
too.
just gonna
Yeah,
say,
I think Anthony saw it on the
it
wall
was
too.
really, everything is really for both of
Yeah.
them. Anthony's more conservative, so he would always tell
Yeah.
on himself when he was younger. It was like, how can you punish the kid when he tells on
Yeah,
himself?
yeah. And one more thing with that is, with them, I always try to, and I think Michelle did it as well, is try to, do you know why you're in trouble? Most of the time they're like, oh, because you're mad. Well, no, it's not because I was mad. It's because of the following.
Mhm.
And this is why this was a bad decision. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that was a wrong decision. Because they're learning. So
Yeah.
a lot of times that helped, is clarifying what they were in trouble for, instead of just putting them in a room, yelling at them and saying. And then when we pulled them out of the room, afterwards, whatever punishment we gave them, then it was the same person pulled them out of the room, and we would have an ongoing conversation. It would be, okay, do you understand what happened and why this isn't a good decision? And we're going to move on from it. I love you. I care about you. And that's why we had this conversation.
Mhm.
And we were very consistent about that. Whoever put them in timeout or whatever, pulled them out and then spoke to them.
And also,
that consistency was
while
good.
we're on punishments, because I don't even think we punish the
Yeah,
kids.
I mean, when I say
Maybe
punishment, it might have,
not even a handful of
Yeah.
times. I think even combined, I don't
Yeah.
even think it was that many. But it wasn't these exaggerated, like when I got in trouble, I was grounded for like a whole 9 weeks, like a whole semester, like no phone. And it was like so extra that it was like, am I even punished anymore? Like, who needs the phone anyway? Like, you figure out, work around it, and the punishment becomes less effective, right? So basically it all comes down to choices. What choices are they making, and or what decisions they're making, right? And then that leads us to the other lesson that we learned, which is basically, the kids have even said that they've made the biggest impression on them, was the choices that they make. And one of the things that we tell them is like, take advantage of every opportunity that's given to you. So like, even with these jobs, I know a lot of families, especially in our culture here, it's like you want your kids at home, and especially not in some other state, because God forbid something happens, you're too far and all this other kind of stuff. And I remember when the kids went to college, and there's another set of twins, boy and girls, that we were friends with, and their parents were so upset because the kids were leaving. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, first of all, they have these great opportunities at these wonderful schools. I'm like, we have sacrificed to put our kids through these private schools and give them these, beautiful education, to have these wonderful opportunities to take advantage. And by you saying, oh, I don't want you to go, or, and you're squashing their dreams, you just kind of negated everything that you just built, or sacrificed or taught them, right? I mean, we could have said, oh no, don't take advantage of working for these great companies because they're in other states, right? We're just like, is there room for us to stay? Like, how long is the flight? How many times can we go? Let's look at our calendar to go for that. Do you have anything?
Yeah, no, I remember having kind of a sense of calm, rather than having a broken heart that they were leaving. I was like, this is pretty cool. Like, we raised these confident kids that are willing to venture out there. I wasn't that kid. I was very, I'm comfortable here at home, and I didn't get outside of my comfort zone until I got into the fire service, and then everything makes you uncomfortable every day, right? It's a new thing every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's great. I think it's amazing that they have that level of confidence, and I think it also comes with knowing that we support them, if that we're on board with them, whatever it takes, that we have each other. Like, it's us four, no matter what. and we got each other's backs, and we're gonna make the best of it. We're gonna make it work out. I think it's important to give them that confidence. Comes from that family unit. I think that closeness, and that understanding of each other's, needs, wants, personalities, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and mind you, both of them moved to a city where they did not know one person.
Yeah.
So it's like they didn't know anybody, obviously, at their new job, but they didn't know anybody in the city. We don't have family that lives at any of these places. There's no friends. So it's like a huge, huge thing that it was just like, okay, they're going to figure it out. This is something that they want. They don't have to do it forever and ever. Amen. Right. And you were talking about leaving them. And I remember because Julia went to summer semester at college. They both ended up at the same college, but then my son went at a later semester. So when we dropped her off at summer, we all get back in the car with my son because he wasn't going to start till later, till the next semester. And he's like, hey, why aren't you guys crying? Aren't you going to miss her? Right. And I'm like, well, I'm going to miss her, but that doesn't mean that the tears means I'm not going to miss her, or the lack of tears means that. I was so happy that she was happy and in this environment where she was like looking forward to it. It's kind of like when you drop them off at the first day of pre-K or kindergarten, right? And then it's like they're crying at the door, right? Because they don't want you to leave. And then you're upset because they're upset, right? But then they end up having fun, and then you get upset that they don't miss you. So it's like a no-win situation. But you know what I'm saying? But when they're like that, it's like you have to let them do it, because they got to the point where it was like, hey, mom, see you later, that they didn't miss you. And that's the point that you want to be at.
Yeah.
Can you tell them the other thing that even one of the new recruits had said to you, and you say it to our kids all the time?
Oh, about so the things you could control in life. So life's coming at you from all different angles. Things are happening. You're reacting to everything that's going on in your life. And I used to say this to my recruit classes: there's two things that you can control. The department I worked for at that time was a very busy department. So I knew that they were going to be going to shift, and they were going to get a high call volume, and it was going to push them to their limit. But what I wanted them to understand is they can't control the call volume. They can't control the call they go on. They can't control the people that they come across. They can't even control the person that works next to them, because especially when you're a rookie, you're new to shift, you go wherever they need you. So those are the things you can't control, everything that's coming at you. What you can control is your effort and your attitude. Maximum effort and a great attitude, and life's that much easier because of it. And I try to do that. I'm not always successful, and nobody's perfect, but that's something that I really tried to let my kids know. And then, my kids in the fire service, so the kids that we hired, I looked at those are kids that we're shaping, mentoring, and forming into who they're going to be in the fire service. And it was important to let them know that it's all going to be okay. That's basically the message. It's, just have a good attitude and be willing to work, and it's all going to work out.
Yeah. And obviously you told it to our children too. And then that's how they go into everything. I really think it's like, I'm probably, to the extra where they're like, Mom, can you stop being so happy? Can you stop always being like so chipper in the morning? Right. Like when they used to have sleepovers, it was like, you can't, what did I used to call them? No, like no grumpy pants when you wake up. It's like everybody has to wake up with a smile. And it's like, I don't want any, grumpy people in the house. So it was always come with a great attitude, right? And bring your 100% of all you got, and show them that work ethic, that you're willing to take initiative and put the effort in there. So I think that goes a long time together. And then also too, which we haven't touched base on, is spending time together as a couple. Right. And one thing, Danny, I remember I didn't always, not that I didn't want to spend time with you, but I didn't always feel this way, because
you're opening up way too much. No, I'm just kidding.
But because I was going to say something and I was like, let me just clarify. Because when I had children, I felt this obligation that I had to be there with them, like every waking moment, right? And it was like, if we went on a vacation without them, or if we went out for dinner or something without them, I literally felt that I had to include them with everything. And then Danny would always tell me, look, I married you. Like we got married together. Like that's what we want. That's what he wants to continue, which I did too. But I wasn't, it took me a minute to really understand that concept.
Yeah, and it wasn't that I I love spending time with her. So for me, yeah, there's a little bit of selfishness because I enjoy being with her and that those moments. But it was like we have to continue to nurture our relationship. We can't forget about that relationship because that's what got you, you know, the house, the marriage, the kids, all that comes with it. And how many couples raise their kids and then when their kids move away, their relationship breaks apart.
Mhm.
Not that that's been in question in any way, shape, or form, but if we started with date nights once a week, then we should continue with date night once a week. Or maybe we can't do it once a week because life is what it is, but we try to do it and at least be present with each other. It's not, and our date nights have changed. Like,
Mhm.
our date nights more are, watching Netflix for hours, but we're enjoying it. We pause, we interact, we talk, we communicate. So it's changed, but we still make that point to try to be present with each other. It might not be going out to a restaurant or something like that all the time, but to make that point to really like spend time together,
Yeah.
and continue to nurture our relationship, because that's the biggest gift that we can give our kids, is that mom and dad are together and happy. And that example of that we've been married hopefully for 50, 60 years, and they're going to our wedding anniversary for 50, 60 years, is important to them too, because that stabilizes their relationships and shows
Mhm.
them this isn't just what feels good now, this is a long haul.
Yeah.
So we've got to be the example for them.
Yeah,
It's important.
exactly.
Yeah.
You hit it on the head of really showing them what a relationship should be,
Mhm.
what a marriage should really look like, right? So it's like working on each other to set that example from everything, right?
Yeah.
From your communication to how you handle things, like who does the chores, like all that kind of stuff. And or like if I'm like, oh, I don't want to cook, or I'm not Danny does all the cooking, right? However, I then do all the cleaning up, or I do all the
Yeah.
other stuff. So it's like it's not just all mom doing one thing or all dad doing another thing. It's really showing them. And I know that they see this because there have been times where, especially my daughter, I don't remember Anthony ever saying this, but I know that he thinks it, just in other comments that he makes. But she'll call me from somebody else's house, a friend of hers, and she'll be like, I am so grateful to have you two as parents
Yeah.
because XYZ, right? This just happened
Mhm.
at so and so's house. I can't believe it. I'm here and they don't know me, like those types of things. So all of that comes through into, how you're shaping them as an adult,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? So bottom line, you can definitely raise amazing human beings and work full time.
Yeah, absolutely. We both have, and we both at times work two jobs at the same time.
Hmm.
I always have, and she always has had, a side hustle, for lack of a better term, even when she was working in the mortgage business with her mom. So
And
she's,
really, the hours that I
yeah,
worked was kind of like having two
yeah,
jobs,
yeah,
if we're being honest.
yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to kind of say?
No, I just, I value, my kids. They're important to me. I value our relationship, and I think it shows. And
Hmm.
from my side of it, I think it shows. I think they see it, and um, we're affectionate to each other. Not where it's creepy or anything, but we're very affectionate in front of our kids because we want them to see that that's how you should, be on a daily basis. If we have an issue or problem with each other, we pull that aside. And I'm more of a hothead than she is. So, the other thing is, at times, if I lose my cool because, I'm not perfect, I'm not beyond going and apologizing to her, but not a private apology for a public display, a public apology in front of them and say, hey, I lost my cool. That was not the way that I should speak to your mom. And, I learn every time one of these things happen, and I'm better because I'm confronting what happened and in front of them, and I apologize to you guys. I did not mean to disrespect your mom in any way, shape, or form. And it's not even a matter of her wanting me to do that. That's, I've caught myself and said, hey, and she's done the same too.
Yeah,
Hey, I'm sorry for this.
right. It's like we're all human.
Yeah,
So it like in one way, and let's just clarify, it's not like verbal abuse or
Oh,
physical
no,
abuse,
never, never, never.
anything like that.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just,
more of
it's more of
yeah,
like, I've had a horrible day and
yeah,
then now this, and then
yeah,
it's just like something triggers, a
yeah,
response or a snap back. And it's like, dude,
yeah. I get grumpy
where'd that
sometimes.
come from,
I get
right?
tired and grumpy, and
And then I call him Grumpy Pants, and then that makes him more mad.
but I catch myself, and
Yeah.
owning
Okay. It's time.
owning it's a big deal.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
owning
yes.
it's a big deal.
Okay, so it's time for Michelle's Hot Minute. Don't look at the
Okay, I
question.
won't look.
Okay.
I promise I won't
All
cheat.
right. So as you know, and he even asked me, "Are you going to do this again?" Because I did ask him before. Okay. So answer the first thing that comes to your mind. All
Ready?
right. What's your favorite reality TV show?
Oh, The Real World, or The Challenge.
The Challenge.
Challenge,
Okay. What has taken you the longest to get good or decent at?
And I'm still not good at it, but probably managing my time. It's still a struggle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What, you have gotten better.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather give up air conditioning for the rest of your life or give up the internet for the rest of your life?
Oh, the internet. I'm out on
I thought
sweating.
you were gonna say
It's
something
too
different.
hot. Yeah, it's too hot.
What's your favorite thing to do with Anthony?
With Anthony, just hang out and play golf.
Top Gun original or Top Gun Maverick?
Maverick for sure.
Would you rather buy 10 things that you don't need every time you go shopping, or always forget the one thing that you need when you go to the store?
Ooh, I'd rather buy 10 things that I don't need.
I was like, really? That's both of you? I
Yeah,
was gonna see which one that he
really,
picks.
that's yeah.
Okay, and what's your favorite thing to do with Julia?
Just being with her. I love her personality. I love her sense of humor. Just chilling out with her. She's a blast.
Yeah, she is. She's a party.
Yeah, she really is.
And what do you wish someone taught you a long time ago?
That it's gonna be okay. That life's gonna happen and it's all gonna work out. And yeah, you got to remind yourself over and over, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, that's what you do to me all the time.
And get uncomfortable because your success comes in those moments or right after those moments of discomfort. Push yourself beyond your limits.
And where do you want to travel to next?
I really want to go to either Paris or Australia.
What happened to Greece?
Oh, Greece, I did. Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about Greece. Okay, scratch
next.
That.
Just
Greece. Greece.
Next is Greece.
Okay, Greece. Yes.
See, I didn't mean to change your mind.
No. I
This
forgot
is what
about
happens,
that.
and
Yeah.
then
No, I forgot about that. That's cool. I'd rather go to the Greek islands. That's what I want to do. Yeah.
All right. Well, this was so much fun. I appreciate you coming on the show for the second time. Thank you for always believing me and being
sure.
my biggest cheerleader
Sure.
and my life coach and my therapist.
Thank you for putting up with me.
All right, well, there you have it. The lessons learned in raising our twins, all while working. I hope that this helped you in some way, shape, or form. I know we went outside our regular curriculum, right? Our regular scheduled programming here, but I thought this was so important because as you have kids growing up, like there's always the what's going to happen and the unsure. I remember being like in elementary school and then the parents who had older kids were talking about height, and I just thought, oh my God, that's so far away. What is life going to be like? How am I going to do this? So they end up either not needing so much therapy from me, or just like, how are they going to be as humans? It's just like, trust yourself. If anything that we share today helps you, like that would just be like amazing. Yeah. So thank you for listening. I appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed the show.
Yep, I had a great time. Yeah, I really did.
Yeah.
And thanks for listening. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And thanks for always listening to Michelle.
All right, party people. I hope you enjoyed the show. Until next time, happy marketing or happy parenting.